Donald Trump and Stephen Miller have been dropping the term insurrection with remarkable regularity. If you ask what the weather is, they'll tell you there's a potential insurrection. There is a reason it hasn't been invoked under this president yet. He tried to do it after the George Floyd protests the last time he was president. He was advised that the courts probably wouldn't allow it to happen. They seem to want to either really get this right and make sure it gets through the court, but they seem to be really thinking about this in the White House, trying to think about a way to get the military into the streets and use them against the enemy within, the American people.
I think that's absolutely right, Ali. And it's frightening. It's unfolding very, very quickly. They're laying the pretext for this. They're trying to provoke violence. And if they provoke enough violence, they think that that will be the justification for the Insurrection Act. And if they get the Insurrection Act, then all of those court challenges disappear because the Insurrection Act theoretically gives the president the authority to go in with the troops and create a kind of a military state.
So the point you made that you've written about this week and you've talked about is the same one J.B. Pritzker makes, right? And that is that they're confrontation hunting. They are looking for any reason. Donald Trump said in the White House, if people start getting killed, I'm getting involved. No one's getting killed because of an insurrection today because there's no insurrection in the United States. But it feels like there's this confrontation that they're looking for as a rationale.
And remember, they're looking in democratic cities, cities that have a lot of Democratic voters. This is, in a sense, the prelude to the 2026 midterm elections. I'm not a conspiratorialist. I
You're
really
not at all. Yeah,
I'm not paranoid, but I sometimes worry that what Donald Trump really is doing is kind of laying a foundation for troops being on the streets in democratic cities to reduce the turnout in the 2026 midterms.
No, you're not at all a conspiracy. I mean, you're a fairly mainstream guy. Here's the question. There is a real place in this moment for protest at every level, which may involve running for office. It may involve going to protests. Some people are getting arrested in peaceful protests. But you are, like many people, warning, don't cross a line that feeds into their narrative.
Yeah, don't fall for it. I mean, what they're setting a trap. Don't fall for it. I have been telling everybody I know, get out there on October 18th in terms of the next No Kings Day demonstrations. But let's just be very, very realistic and very careful because there's a big line, and there should be a line between getting out there and demonstrating and making your voices heard and showing up on the one hand, and resorting to violence on the other. And it's very important that we not cross that line, because crossing that line gives the administration, gives Trump the pretext, gives him the justification for the Insurrection Act, for the troops, and then for the troops on our city streets during 2026 midterms.
What you are is a student of history, and this business about talking about the enemy within and how I alone can solve it, and that we are protecting you and we're putting these troops on the street to protect you from, literally, Portland sounds like it's on fire listening to Donald Trump all the time. Chicago sounds like it's on fire. They jumped from a helicopter, these federal officials, and rappelled down a building and arrested little children and put them in zip ties. At what point? Jason Stanley just told me we're in it now, right? There's not going to be some switch in which we move into authoritarianism. We're in that continuum now. How do you get people to register that this is about them and their lives? This is not an abstraction about Antifa.
I think that's the very important and central question, because it is about them. It's about all of us.
Yeah.
Because any one of us could be in those apartment buildings or those homes where people are raided in the middle of the night. I mean, many of those people who were raided in Chicago, they were here legally. They were not here illegally. And as you said before, Ali, there's no way of knowing if the president drops a bomb on a boat and just alleges that they were doing something nefarious, that they were carrying drugs into the United States. All we have is his word for it. And that means that any one of us is particularly susceptible and vulnerable to him saying, well, you were carrying drugs, or you were doing this, or you were doing that. Right. So I have a right, and my troops have a right to shoot you. This is what people really need to understand. It's not about them being in danger. It's about all of us being in danger.
Yeah.